Yeah!
Certainly all those that are saying yay are those that go to snowboarding.
Yeah!
Yes. But as for me, I hate shoveling. And I don't want to shovel anymore. So good thing I have to build. So he's not here, so I can say that. But anyways, once again, I'm thankful that you guys took your time today to come and join us for service. And when I look around, I see like a a lot of new faces. So I'll go ahead and embarrass you guys later. Introduce you later. But once again, thank you for coming to Crossover. And we've been going through a series. I didn't realize it was a series until I realized it was a series. But we've been talking about dating, marriage, and today we're talking about singles. How many of you singles are out there? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. It's okay. Yeah, good. It's good to be single. If you look at your brochure, I try to come up with this fancy way of making the title for my sermon. So I guess basically said all the single ladies.
Wait a minute.
So every time I see single ladies, I'll think about all the single ladies. And then just throw in the men in there. So all the single ladies and the men. All right. Yes. So I want to talk to you guys about being single today, because single is truly not a bad thing. And like I told you the past several weeks, maybe some of you are at an age where you're starting to look, you're starting to search, you're getting the pressure. I mean, especially coming from, I feel like an Asian background mostly. We get pressured so much, especially from your parents or from the friends. They keep saying, you're at this age, are you gonna find someone? Are you gonna marry someone? It's kind of funny because the other day, it's funny because I went to speak at God's Image. Some of you might know God's Image. It's a dance place, it's a dance thing for a lot of youth kids. And I had a chance to speak to the parents there, and then I ran into one pastor that I know. I will reveal his name. I will not reveal his name. It's funny because all this time I'm thinking, okay, as a dad, right? Well, I look at my daughter. I want her to be single for the rest of her life. No, I'm just joking. Maybe till 30. That's good. 30 years old is a good age. And even at 30, when she meets someone, that guy better be all that he says that he's going to be. Right? So I'm going to be really tight, really protective. I know not good. And God will, I'm sure when I get older, God will soften my heart. But I mean, I met this pastor, and he was like, yeah, my daughter is junior in college, and he said that his mentality is, hope you find a man, find someone, get married. You're my oldest daughter. We need to hurry and get married. And I was like, Pastor, don't they? In college they got to study. No, they got to find a man first. She's got to find a husband first. And I just thought to myself, it's kind of funny that he will when his daughter will get married. So I'm sure there's a lot of pressure. I don't know if you're getting pressured. Maybe some of you are still kind of young and you're not getting pressured, but I can say that when you get a certain age, you start to feel the pressure. So the thing is, what I'm here to tell you is that don't feel that pressure. Don't feel that pressure to be single. All right? Even the Bible, even God tells us that being single is good. I just kind of thought that I would kind of look around and see some of the famous single people around our history, around our time. For instance, Buddha was a single man. He was married, but then he left. He left his children and left his wife to go search for enlightenment. So he spent the rest of his life being single. Queen Elizabeth was single. She was known as the Virgin Queen. A lot of people pressured her to get married, but she said in a bold statement, I do not need a husband because I already have my husband, the Kingdom of England. So she stayed single. Joan of Arc was single. Sir Isaac Newton was single. He was reported to be engaged as a teen, but then later dropped it and pursued science. Thomas Jefferson was a single. Well, he was married, but then his wife passed away. And then for 19 years, he was single, and then became the third president of the United States. Mother Teresa We all know Mother Teresa. Probably one of the, other than Jesus, probably the next person that comes in my mind, the most famous single person. She devoted herself solely to God and to the poor, and she really did not, search for marriage or relationship. So, and then obviously we know that Jesus is the next person that we know that is single, and that he was the example of what it means to be single, and how to be a single, how you can be used as a single. So, I want to talk to you again. What does the Bible have to say about being single? So, if you have your Bibles, open to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. On your own, if you have time, just read the whole chapter 7. It really talks about a lot of things. I'm just going to just skip around and just kind of talk about different little parts of the Bible, of the chapter. First couple of verses I want you to see is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 6 through 9. And it says, if you have your Bibles, open it to chapter 7, verses 6 through 9. And it says, now as a concession, not a command, I say this. So he's not saying this is what I want you to do. Okay, he was like, okay, if you have to, try this. And what he's saying was, I wish that all were as myself as I am, but each has his own gift from God, one of a kind and one of another. In verse 8, to the unmarried, so he's talking about the singles, and the ones who are the widows, I say that it's good for them to stay and remain single as I am. But if you cannot exercise self-control, then you should marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Alright, so he's saying, listen, it's better for you to stay single. But if you're like most cases, most people who are human beings, we are filled with, and we have the characteristics of desire and passion and temptation. Alright, so if you cannot control yourself, Paul is saying that you should get married. But if you do, if you can't control it, which I think is a gift from God, to stay away from sexual temptations, then maybe it is your calling. Maybe it is your gift that God's giving you to be single. In verse 26 it says, I think that in the view of the present distress, it is good for a person to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be free. Are you free from a wife? Do not seek a wife. But if you do marry, you have not sinned, and if a betrothed woman marries, she has not sinned. Yet those who marry will have worldly troubles, and I will spare you from that. So just by looking at Paul's wording here, his verse, it seems like he's very against marriage. It seems like he's like, man, don't get married. It's the worst thing possible for you to do. Don't step into the boundaries of marriage. Just stay single. I was trying to see if Paul ever married? Was he ever married before? There's mixed views on this. All right, some believe that he was married, but if he was indeed married, then his wife probably died early, right? Because they say that probably because he was married because one of the requirements of him, as he was before Paul, who was Saul, Sanhedrin, that they had to be married. So they thought that. So some of the commentators believe that he was married, but then his wife passed away early. All right, and some believe that he was always single. He was always single, and he was never married. So, but regardless of what view you have, but we can be sure of that he is very knowledgeable. Right? He has been filled with the Holy Spirit to write some of these things down, so that you and I can look at it and have a guideline to see what God wants from us. So he goes on to say right here in verse 26, and I just want to kind of give a little background here, and why he says, in this present distress. Some of your Bibles may say that, the present distress. Well, you have to kind of understand at this time right now when he was talking to the church of Corinth, that the area around the area, they were going through a famine. Right? There weren't a lot of food. There weren't a lot of things that, they were kind of financially difficult at that time. So what he was saying basically was to the people and to the church was that at this present distress, at this present time, I don't think it's good for you to marry. Because how can, because it's already hard enough for you to take care of yourself. But then if you're married, you got to take care of your family and your children. And you got to take care of them and make sure that they are fed. Right? So he was saying at this present distress, maybe, it's good to stay single. And basically he kind of goes on and talks about troubles and having hard times. If you think about it, you might say, well, how does this apply? How does the famine and all this thing apply to me? All right, well, we're not going into any type of famine. Well, if you kind of think about it, we do go through different types of struggles. And maybe the reason why some of you are still single, maybe some of you who are single right now, God is putting a famine in your life right now. Saying, listen, it's not right. It's not good. It's not the time right now for you to start thinking about a relationship. Maybe some of you are going through stress. Maybe some of you are going through financial difficulties. Maybe some of you are too busy right now to handle another relationship. Maybe some of you are too materialistic. As I mentioned before, maybe some of you are being too pressured to find a relationship. So there could be all sorts of different things that can play into your decision to try to get a relationship. So Paul is saying, look, there's a famine. So listen, stay single. Stay single. Right? It's better for you to be single right now. And don't try to be looking out to help you get married. So I'm talking to you singles right now. Maybe some of you who are here is constantly thinking about, I need a relationship. I need a boyfriend. I need someone to, be with. One of the things that is really difficult and really hard and that's really convicting to me that I want to share is, there's people out there who date and then they break up and then in a matter of weeks they're with another person. And then they get into a serious relationship and then they break up and then another several weeks or months they get into a relationship again. And there's this ongoing thing that they're searching for a relationship. There's this ongoing thing that they need someone in their lives. They feel like the need that somebody's got to love them and take care of them. So what they do is they jump around and they have different and many relationships. I'm telling you, that's not healthy. It's not healthy. Maybe some of you who just have broken up with a relationship, well, maybe God is telling you to stay single for now. And regroup yourself, rethink, re-energize, create yourself. And don't jump into another relationship quickly. All right? What the Bible, what God is trying to tell us here is that, don't jump the gun. Don't jump and do it. Don't go into those things. Because being single has its advantages. And this is what Paul goes on and he goes in and tells us, all right, in verse 28, right, he starts to lay out some of these advantages of being single. In verse 28, he goes, yet those who marry will have worldly troubles, and I will spare you of that. What Paul is saying here is that the word trouble here is a Greek word that is from philippisis, right? And then basically, it's a word from the Greek that means pressed together. And it was used for crushing grapes. So whenever you see crushing grapes to produce juice, you see a tub of grapes. And I think way back in those days that people used to take their barefoot and they would just stomp on those grapes and all the juices will come out. And so the idea of this pressing together, here's these grapes that are together and they're being mashed together, right? They're being squeezed together. So what he's saying is that basically the trouble, the pressure behind this is going to be great for those who are married. And that's what Paul is saying. Look, I'm sparing you the trouble right now. He said, don't jump the gun with marriage. Don't jump the gun with trying to find a relationship. And he goes on to say, it's because it's like being pressured into each other. So I was thinking to myself, all right, what's some of those examples that we can think about in marriage? So you have two people, all right, who are pressed together in the closest possible way, physically. When you're married, you're going to be pressed together physically, all right? You're going to be pressed together mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, all right? So they're beginning to mesh. They're beginning to put together. Then these two very distinct individuals will always have two separate personalities, all right? When you bring two people together, they're not the same person. You cannot be the same personality, all right? You're going to have two different personalities. You're going to have two different temperaments. You're going to have two different wills. You're going to have two different histories and backgrounds from the way they come. They're going to be different struggles with them. They're going to have different baggages that they're going to carry into the relationship. So you think for a moment that you're bringing two people who are usually angry, who are usually selfish, who is usually dishonest, who is usually proud, who is usually forgetful, for two people who are usually thoughtless people. You bring them together and say, love each other. It's difficult. Marriage is difficult. It's tough. You know, you're taking two sinners who to live by themselves is hard enough. To be individual, to live as a Christian is hard enough. But then you're bringing two people together who are both sinners, and if you put them together, you produce a human nature that's multiplied. My wife and I, you know, we go through things too, because we're humans. You know, we argue, we you know, sometimes, you know, in the beginning of marriage, I used to yell a lot. But as you get older, you kind of learn to say, okay, it's not young. We're adults, you know, so you just kind of talk. But we can still feel that. We can still feel the tension. We can still feel the anger towards each other. You know, if we didn't feel that, if we didn't have that, then there'd be something wrong, right? As a married couple, you're going to feel that. You're going to have those things. And it's difficult as a man, right? Maybe some of you who are dating right now, maybe some of you who are married, you know, it's a painful process when you know that your other person is angry. You know, a long time ago, you know, when we used to date, the fight always happens like this. I don't know what it is, but you tell me, like, my wife is quiet. She's the quiet type. And I'm driving, I'm looking, and she's like, quiet. I'm like, what's wrong? I'm like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. What is it? Nothing. Your face says nothing. What? Tell me, what is it? And then, you know, pretty soon I'm like, tell me what it is. and then the more I'm yelling, the more she's quiet. And the more I was like, what is it? And I start talking about all these different things, like stupid things, like, you know, was it this? Was it this? Because of this? Because of this? Because of this? And it's like, no. I'm like, what is it then? Tell me. and then see, that process is painful. I have a headache every time I do it, and it's really hard. And it's like, you know, I'm like, I want her to just say it so that we can talk. But then I realize that women need process, right? Women need time to think. Women need to, okay. Because what I realized was this: is that women, you know, for us men, we're thinking one idea. Okay, oh, I must have said something while we're eating lunch together. You know, maybe about her dress or something. I'm thinking that. But then, you know, women are thinking like way on the other side from the beginning. Like even before this point, there was something way back, you know. And right now, men are trying to say, we're trying to attack this little area. What is it? What is it? And then the reason why women don't want to say anything because there's too much to talk about. There's too much things to carry into the relation. I mean, to the conversation. So, you know, I'm like, what is it? And then finally what happens a lot of times is like, I'm sorry, sorry, you know? And then I kind of like say, cut. And then finally, maybe you know, a couple days later, she tells me. And I'm like, I feel so stupid. I do. I feel so stupid. I'm like, that was the reason? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. You know? And I read this book. It's a good book if you want to read it. It's called Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. The reason why, because I tell this to my marriage, is because men, we're created like waffles, because when you look at a waffle, they have little individual squares, right? So when you're pouring a syrup, all right, each hole must be filled with syrup before we can go on to the next, until our syrup can spill over to our next compartment of square. But women are like spaghetti because noodles, like they intertwine with each other. So you can be in one train of thought, boom, hits another train of thought, boom, hits another train of thought. So, you know, women just too complex. Why? Why are you women so complex? Be simple. All right. You know, so, you know, basically all this stress in a relationship, and you know it for sure. Some of you who dated before, you know the pressure and the hardship and the stress that it produces when you're with each other, right? And the fights that you have and the things and the different things that you go through as a relationship and through a relationship. And Paul's like, listen, I'm trying to spare you from all that. I'm trying to tell you that, you know, at this moment, it's not worth it right now. You've got too many things going on. And you have too many things that you need to develop first. And he's saying, you know, I'm good. We're done. We have to realize, and I said this, I think, a couple weeks ago. Don't think that marriages or relationships will make you happy. Don't think that relationship or marriage will solve your problems. Don't think that marriage or relationship will bring you closer to God. Don't think marriage or relationship will make you a better person. Don't think that marriage or relationship will fulfill your dream. Because you won't. You can't. It's impossible. I'm telling you right now. That marriage is sometimes not fun. It's not. Some of you, are thinking like, oh, I can't wait to get married. I can't wait to be with my wife and cuddle and be next to her in the morning. Man, soon after a while, you look at me like, man, go brush your teeth. It's like morning bread, Like, so you go be like, oh man, why is this and why is that and why are you like leaving the toilet seat down, or why you have the toothpaste cap uncapped, or there's so many things that begin to brew in a marriage, and it gets really difficult and it gets really hard, and that's why I was telling my married couples that the greatest single most important thing that you need to do in any type of relationship is sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. Isn't that what Jesus did for us? He sacrificed. He gave his life for us. Jesus died. The ultimate thing that he did was, yeah, he nailed on the cross, yeah, he did other, but he sacrificed himself. He went 100% to us. And that's the same model that you need to carry in any type of relationship. Whether you're dating, whether you're married, that you bring sacrifice. Sacrifice for the other person. Some other advantages that I believe singles can benefit from being single is, while you're single, take time to develop your character and your personality. Take time while you are here being single to develop who you are, to develop your identity in Christ, to develop the person that you are, that you want to be in the future. As a single, take time to develop deeper friendships. You see, when you are single, you have more time with your friends. You have more time to develop intimate relationship with your friends. When you're married, your best friend becomes just your friend, right? Because your best friend becomes your spouse, and it has to be. So you spend more time together. My best friend, some of you know, Pastor Sam, right? He and I went to high school together. We did a lot of things, and I love his brother. He's the one who helped me through my times of troubles, and he moved away to Texas. I never got to see him that much. And then he started telling me, oh, I'm moving closer to you. Oh, where? Philadelphia. I said, that's great. And I was like, he moved to Philadelphia and still didn't get to talk to him that much, right? And then he calls me up and goes, guess what? I said, what? I'm moving down to Maryland. Oh, let's meet every week. Let's meet every time. I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, that makes sense. Not like personally. I'm not through like church events and stuff. But to be with each other, not that much. I thought I can go to his house every single day. Right? But like literally it's like maybe once a year. And that's like during holidays. Right? And he's my best friend. But the reason why is that he's married, he's got kids, I'm married, I got kids. We can't meet each other as often as we should. Or as often as we want. So do you realize when you're single, you have that opportunity to develop deeper relationship with your friends. Take advantage of it. And don't just develop friends worldly. Don't develop friends that that maybe when you get married or someone that they will just fizzle away. But you want to start developing friends that that when you get married or when you're having hard times in your marriage, that they're just a phone call away. And although my friend and I, we don't see each other on a daily basis, I know that if there's something I need to talk to, he's the first person that I can call, and he will pick up the phone and say, what's going on? I can talk to him. So at that moment, right now, while being single, don't just be with friends and say, oh yeah, let's have fun time. Yeah, then be friends like that. No, start developing friendships that will matter. Start developing friendships that will, in the long run, develop you and build you up. Don't hang around friends that will tear you down. Don't hang around friends that are bad influences. I'm telling you, because let's say you have a friend that that is pretty bad influence. You get married, right? They're gonna be bad influence regardless if you're married or not. They're gonna say, hey, come on up, let's go out. Come on, guys, you're going. No, I gotta I gotta go somewhere with my family. Oh, come on, man, you never had time with me, man. And you feel bad. And you go to your wife and say, honey, can I just go out real quickly? But you promised that we had this. But you just go with them. You know what I'm saying? You want to start developing friends, deeper friends that will eventually be there for you in a good way. Right? So take advantage of that while you're single. Right? Being single allows you to have greater privacy. Right now, there's no privacy in my home. None. I'm trying to use number 2 privately. I can't. Kids running in and out. I need tissue. I need this. Don't you see I'm using the restroom? I'm sorry, but I gotta get ready. I'm like, what in the world? It's the fact. You have no privacy whatsoever. We're walking around. Now, I don't want to get too much into it. But as a single person, you have the ability to be in the confines of your home privately. And in that midst, when you're by yourself, take time to lay out some of the things that you want to. Take time to create. Take time to develop. Purpose, goals, different things like that while you are still single. Being a single person, gives you so many, pleasures. Like, you can do your work in private. You can sleep comfortably. Nobody's there to wake you up. Right? In my house, it's 6 o'clock a.m. Well, it's 6:30 because Adelaide's like, you gotta wake me up. I said, why don't you wake up yourself? No, wake me up now. So I become I'm the alarm clock in my house. So I wake up and I wake up everyone. I get up. I never get a chance to sleep. Daniel Chung, when the baby comes, I feel sorry for you. No matter how much you want to tell Amy, just go do it, man. There's something about fathers that will get up. You're only going to get 2 hours of sleep. Okay? All right? There's times where I had my baby and I was like, I'm telling her, because I'm so tired. Now, there's no room for sleep. There's no room for working. Sometimes I do a lot of my sermons at home, and there's no like I said, there's no time for me to be alone in the country because everything is traffic, everything is going on and on. So being a single person, man, enjoy your privacy, enjoy your time being alone. Being single permits you to have greater freedom. It does. It gives you opportunities to pick up and go when you need to. If you got a job, hey, boom, you can move easily, right? If you know that a certain interest, interested you, you can pick that up. You can pick up the game of something, whatever, and you can do so many things while you're single. Now, for me as a family, everything I do has to involve the whole family. It has to involve my kids. It has to involve my wife. Now, I'm making it sound like, I'm a bad marriage. It's not, because being married too, like I said, I told you like a couple of weeks ago, it has its gifts and benefits as well. But right now, as you are single, enjoy your freedom. Enjoy your freedom. Be free. Be free. But then the last thing is this, advantage. The most important one out of all the things that I said. This is the most important reason why we have an advantage of being single. And that is, if you look further down in chapter 7, verse 32, this is what Paul says. 1 Corinthians 7, chapter 32 says, I want you to be free from anxieties. All right, so Paul, once again, he's still talking about marriage and still saying, hey, I'm trying to free you from anxiety. I'm trying to free you from all this worry. And he goes, the unmarried man is anxious about just one thing. He's anxious about doing the things that pleases the Lord. Listen, the advantage of being single is that you can be used by God. Is that you can be used by God in so many. That you're not confined. You don't have a commitment to a family. That you're just by yourself and you can make that commitment with God. That means that you should use your freedom to increase your service for God. It means that take time to go to mission trips. Take time to serve in the church. Take time to do as much as you can in the ministry for the Lord. And that's what the whole purpose, what Paul is saying is, look, if you have to marry, yeah, marry. But I'm telling you, if you're single, you have that much more potential, much more opportunities to be used by God. And how great is that? How awesome is that? That I can be used by God. Don't be selfish with the extra time that you have. Some of you have so much time on your hand. As a single person, you have so much you have so much time. You don't have to take the kids to school. And I hate to keep talking about, I'm just sharing this as an example because I just want you to kind of clearly see how much time that, a married person has opposed to a single person. If I seem like I'm doing too much, tell me afterwards, I apologize. But, when I wake up in the morning, all right, I get ready, I'll wake up my kids and get them ready to school, then I go to school. Sometimes I'm a little later than usual. But I go to school. Then right after school, 3:30, boom, I come home. And some days, it depends on what day, but I take Taville to his practices. I take Adelaide to piano practice. I have Wednesday night service, like a prayer meeting. Some other things throughout this whole week. I meet with people in our church to just take time to talk with them. And by the time I get home, it's like 9:30, right? And sometimes I don't eat dinner. Sometimes I have to eat dinner like at 10 o'clock. Right? And then I go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, only to repeat it the next day. And then on Saturday, when I feel like I have time to just breathe, no, I gotta take Taville and Adelaide to all their different practices and all these different things. And then I'm like, okay, come on, Sunday. And then Sunday, I gotta prepare all these different things. So it's a constant thing. Busy. All right? But here's the thing. I thank the Lord that I'm busy. Because if I weren't busy, I'd be lazy. Oh, that rhymes. If I'm not busy, I'm late. So, but that's what I'm saying. As a single person, you have time in the day to do something. You have time. God is giving you that precious time to utilize. So as a single person, utilize that time that you have for the things of God. That means maybe you have more time to come and be part of the ministry. Maybe, some of you know that, our praise band, we're looking for a full band. Maybe if God's speaking to your heart, maybe it's God saying, hey, do this, do that. Well, if you have time on your hand, don't just waste it. Don't just let it go by. And don't let it be a time where you just search on the internet and play games on your PS3 or Xbox One or whatever. Use your time wisely, especially for the Lord. And another thing that I see sometimes too is that as a single person, don't ever resent or don't ever have a grudge for those who have families and that they can't give more time. Because I just mentioned to you right now that having a family is a big thing. It takes a lot of time, especially if you want to have a healthy family. The Bible tells us that, and it tells people that, how can you take care of a church if you can't take care of your family? And I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago that, for me, I'll tell you right now, as a church, I'll tell you honestly right now, my priority is God, family, and church. Right? Because my family's up there. I need to take care of my family. And then, right now, my kids, while they're being developed, and this is something I can talk about too. I'm thinking, I don't know if it interests you or not, but I'm thinking about, how to be a better parent, either kid, maybe. I don't know. You tell me. But, I'm thinking. When we have kids as a married couple, God has replaced us and blessed us with kids, saying, look, this is my kids. I'm just using you on earth to be that secondary parent. Right? So I trust you enough to take care of my kids to do the best and raise them up godly so I can use them later. So I'm thinking that, okay, that's my responsibility to my kid, Adelaide and Taville, that I need as a parent to treat them and train them to be godly. And that means that I have to miss some functions of the church, and I'll do it. Because that's my first calling as a dad, as a father. Right? And then when they're off to college, when they're able to go on their own, then my wife and I, right? My wife and I can be more devoted, more devoted to the church. Right? But so that's the thing, As a single person, don't ever take a grudge. Don't ever criticize. Don't ever say something, oh man, why don't you have time for this? Why don't you have time for that? Instead, pray for them. Thank the Lord that these families can be role models. I think we have the greatest families in the church. Daniel, Chung, and Amy, right? Joey and Gloria. Just now, Houston and Gina, right? Kiki and Javon, which are still British, they gave me the pizza burger. But every time I look at these families, yeah, they're humans. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. But I can really honestly tell you that they are really living to be godly. They're godly people. And as a single person, learn from them. Take notes from them. Right? Go ask them questions. Ask them what it means to be this, this, and that. Utilize them. Use them. Take advantage of them. But just talk to them. Spend time with them. So you can see. You see, and I'll leave you with this. All these things, advantages, there are a couple disadvantages of being single. And this is something that you need to work on. This is something that you need to pray about as a single. As a single, be careful of temptations. Temptations will come. Temptations will affect you. So when temptation comes sexually, take time to pray. Ask God to protect you. There will be times when you feel lonely. You will find that being single is a time of loneliness. When you do feel time of loneliness, take time to meet with others. Take time to accept invitations. One thing that what I want singles is that if there's an invitation to go somewhere, what's the first thing that a lot of people say? I don't want to be the third wheel. Who cares? Just be the third wheel. Don't be like that. Go. Have fun. If they're inviting you to come, be happy and say, yeah, I'll come. Yeah, definitely. Because then you get to have the chance to be able to learn and to talk and to realize how other people's relationships are. So it gives you clues, gives you some, tips. You know what I'm saying? So when somebody invites you something, go. Right? Another danger that you might have is self-centeredness. Being self-centered all the time. Be careful not to be self-centered. That's why you serve. That's why you be in the ministry, so that you don't have to be self-centered, but then you'll be able to go and serve others. Amen. Remember that you are in the family of God. Right? That you're in the family of God. All of us are family. All of us are brothers and sisters in Christ. Right? So don't think that you're here alone. Don't think that you have nobody. You do have everyone. Right? But just remember that there's a family here, especially at this church. That there's a family here. There's a family atmosphere here. And I want all of us to be that way. So utilize what you have right here as a single. For those of you who are not single, for those who are married or in a relationship, there's three things I just want you to understand. The two things is be accepted towards those who choose to be single. Right? When you have a friend and you know that, hey, I just want to be single, man. I just want to be by myself. I'm not looking for a relationship. Accept them. Honor them. Don't be like, oh man, dude, man, what's wrong with you? You're weird, man. You don't want a girlfriend? Are you gay or something? No, you don't have to say those bad words. You don't have to say those things. All right? Be accepted. Be like, dude, okay, you want to be by yourself? That's okay. I'll pray for you. I'll be with you. All right? Be accepted. Be understanding. Be understanding to those that want to be single at this present time. Simple as that. Just be able to be there for those who are single, realizing that you have so many people out here that want to be your friends, right? And another thing too, as a single, and especially in a church, I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again, that be careful when you're in the single state, especially when you start to feel like, oh, maybe I am looking for a girlfriend, and then potentially start, as I mentioned before, start looking at all our ladies in our church and saying, oh, maybe I can try for that, maybe I can try for that, maybe I can try for that. And I mentioned this before, if you do have a feeling of liking someone in our church, please do come see me. Please come tell me. I'm not gonna go out. I'm not gonna come on the pulpit and say so and so likes this person. Let's pray for them. I'm not gonna say that. I don't know if you make me mad. But this is serious stuff. I want our church to be healthy. I want our church to be good. I want our church to function the way and biblically. And although dating is not mentioned in the Bible, right? So the only two things that are mentioned are like being married and being single. And you hear what Paul said. Right? Being single is good. So use that time that you have as being single for His glory, for His purpose, right? And use it. And God will continue to be there for you. The thing that I just wanted to comment on it too. But, as Paul tells us, keep our minds, keep our thoughts pure. Don't think anything that is immoral. Don't think about things that are lustfulness. It will only continue to. If a thought's in there, it's gonna eat you. Then you're gonna start wanting someone not because you want love, but because you want to satisfy your own physical desire. And so be careful. Be careful. So singles, I love you guys. I'm not just looking at you. I'm just like staring at you. I'm just like staring at Amy and say singles. I don't know. My eyes just fixed on you. Sorry. I'm not trying to pinpoint you out. I'm not trying to pinpoint you out. I'm just like looking around. So singles, love you guys. God has great things for you. God's going to do amazing things through you. And in God's timing, in God's will, God's plan, He will give you someone. And you will be able to date with that person and eventually get married. So, all the single ladies, all the single ladies, honor your God. Let's pray.